knocked out, but they can play this spoiler if they are some way, somehow able to 7-0 FaZe Clan.
Well, FaZe, you're one round away from being able to defend your Swedish title that they claimed last year around this time. We'll see if they're able to do it again. Opportunity obviously not too far away. We just got to get through this ban phase, and they can end it with the very first round. Nook going to be banned out. Ying will follow suit. Nook still going to be the most banned offender that we have at this LAN. Azami, the most banned defender. Mira going to be removed here as well. Let's see if that Azami ban comes through, and it will, so that trend will continue on.
Pretty straightforward bans showing up here. No real surprises at the end of the day. The Ying one, of course, just a team preference. Ultimately, could have left her or swapped her out for another one as well, but it makes perfect sense considering the circumstances playing into this map. Usual initial site choice looks like it's going to be in play. Oh, never mind. For Mirage, they did have some trouble holding on to Karaoke and Tea Room, which they'd initially picked there, so they're going to go over to Exhibition and Office instead, where they had much better results when they were playing against DW earlier on today.
Yeah, so we'll see if that, switch of fate there will assist Mirage. FaZe Clan, they're going fairly straightforward with their offensive unit. This is pretty much exactly what you'd want out of, a squad trying to take control of Skyscraper. I especially like the Nomad working their way in, and I even like a lot of the adjustments that we're getting here. Love this Monty, especially love the Flores, as I always think he's a really, really solid option for just getting rid of utility, and that's something you have to do quite a lot of when it comes to the game of Rainbow Six Siege. He's one of the best in the business nowadays. He's got explosive drones. He's the only one that does, so you can circumnavigate all of the throwables and just get rid of a shield unless there's a mute jammer or something of the sort in the way. The entire lineup going to change for FaZe, so I'm glad that I stopped my line of thinking there for a moment. We could actually get a solid consideration as to what they're trying to accomplish. Cyber's actually going to be bringing the IQ in here. I really like this pickup actually because we've seen how abused Valkyrie can be on this map. A lot of traction throughout recent games. Obviously, FaZe losing a lot of rounds to Direwolves because of that Valkyrie. They weren't able to get rid of those cameras, and we saw how useful those were to Direwolves earlier in their match against Mirage.
See, of course, FaZe Clan beginning their push forward. The repick of operators is somewhat expected given the sudden site change up from Mirage as well. FaZe Clan more than likely picked try and go for the Karaoke take, having to shift over towards the office play instead. Certainly subverted their own expectations and led to a few change-ups here, but still moving forward with a mission, it seems now, as they've already reached the wall. Sitting over behind meeting now. We're going to have Dexter sitting in the way of that. Dexter will be forced out of position here, unfortunately, and the Montaigne will reveal his path forward. We are going to see as well the denial of the full opening here to the top stairs wall. So we're going to see a bandit battery chucked down just in time right after the first Selma charge is blown open.
Well, creating some head holes here on the paneling. They're going to try and get Astro in here and get the plant down safely with the Monty. He's got smokes to try and break this up as well, and they have no way to try and counteract that. No Warden in play for the defense of Mirage, so obviously would be risky with the positioning and no picks going the way of FaZe just yet, but more than likely what we'll see eventually arise after FaZe are able to lop those two parts of the Hydras off. So we'll see if Mohesi and the rest of the gang can continue to hold on to this. They've at least gotten the delay, but that hasn't come with some considerations from FaZe, obviously, like we were just discussing with these walls and such. The camera will mark out Astro as he's got the Bandit up close and personal with him right now inside of Exhibition. He's going to push into display, but he decides against it. Doesn't want to go too far against the Monty, especially with that window being managed. More than likely would end up giving up his life. Astro, he's dropped that case. He's given it on over to Cameraman, and they're actually going to go for the two-man plant here. No prevention underneath. You can see FaZe, they've got that covered. All their ducks in a row and a kill onto Mohesi. Valkyrie's going to try and work her way around, but she can't find the angle. Beautiful work here from Astro as Dexter actually going to take down Cameraman. Benji will find one for himself, and they have an opportunity to keep this round in their favor.
Cyber with a nice pickup there, evens out the numbers yet again. There's repel position from Bullet as well. Can just go for two right off the bat. Only one is going to go for the full outright peak though, and Dexter caught on the way back in. Mirage falls to pieces unfortunately on this retake, but Benji keeping the hopes alive until he needs to contest against that upside down repel, of course, where the player on it from FaZe shuts it down once again, and we see them lock in the one and only round they need. That is is it, ladies and gentlemen. FaZe Clan, I believe, are going to be moving through now into the playoffs.
You gotta phase up, John. Come on, let me do the hand thing. Do the hand thing. Do the hand. Wait, they can't even see it. It doesn't even matter. But yeah, FaZe, they've made it to our main stage, which is awesome. Haven't got to cast FaZe in some time, and it's always exciting when we get the opportunity, especially with such a powerful lineup. Always really enjoy watching all these guys plays. Astro and Cameraman, actually some of my personal favorite players from the region. So past that though, FaZe still a long road ahead of them, considering they're going to need 7 rounds obviously to close out the game in total, but they got the 1 round necessary to guarantee themselves playoffs. So going to be throwing things over to the operator carousel again. Let's spin the wheel and see what they land on. So far 4 adjustments, make it 5 adjustments across the line. They'll bring the Nomad back into play that we talked about earlier. So looks like they might be trying to start things potentially from this side and work their way across, get a foothold, lock up the stairwells, and then potentially try and play in via that means. But there's a lot of different ways that you can try and operate around this. I mean, you can even use Nomad when it comes to trying to lock up, you know, things like black stairs or things like restaurant stairs as well. Just a whole heck of a lot of stairs. That's usually what we see when it comes to these air jabs.
We're back over on FaZe's attack now with them having been spawned out. Expect a bit of a slow approach to this one, but at the same time, FaZe can really get wild with the rest of this game if they want to. They've already completed their goal. Obviously, even if they come to an outright loss on this game, it's not really going to change things up for them all that much. Just want to play this one out and have some fun with it. Give Mirage a good show as well here. Is like we talked about in the pregame, Mirage still looking forward to this matchup to have a real opportunity to face off against one of the best and brightest inside of LATAM. Benji taking the duel right to them in the meanwhile as he meets Bullet head-to-head on the breach at the top of the stairs, knocks him down. Kento pulling off a similar feat as he's going to be able to find Cyber outside.
Hey, take it to the house, kid. We've got 2, and they're looking for their first round as they take down Bullet and Cyber already with only the first minute gone. A lot of FaZe stuck to repel and stuck to windows. Souls, he's going to hop in, but the proximity goes off. Dexter now knows that location, but he's going to wait patiently. Just walk right into him and, oh, please. Oh, that's always scary when that happens, isn't it? Dexter, he misses his initial outburst, but able to follow up and get the frag.
So the swings coming in from the rest of FaZe here, as unfortunately they don't have a whole lot left to play into. Mirage has shut things down outright. I was talking earlier about how Mirage was probably going to play things a little bit further back, closer to the chest, so to speak, inside the actual site. Yeah, it doesn't really seem like I was right about that at all. They're playing it right up against these breaches, as we've seen a lot of the other teams do on the defensive side of this map, shutting out most of the early play from FaZe.
There's a smart saying about this. You always fear a man with nothing to lose, John. And Mirage are definitely that man at the current moment. Not a single thing can happen that will end up making any of this land really any better for them, except maybe getting this victory up against FaZe Clan, and they can really go about it in any fashion they so choose, because if they lose things, everything's pretty chill. So
away from that, we are going to continue to see FaZe look for any opportunity to bring this round back under their own control. Still playing it quite slowly, even with it being brought down to the 2v5. Mirage not showing anything else at this point. They don't want to give up this lead they've already built for themselves. And Daxter locking in one more, because why the heck not? All into Cameraman now. Basically just trying to work himself in, trying to pad the stats as much as possible, because the round is pretty much gone by the wayside here. Everyone else on Mirage coming in for the pitch.
Very nice.
And there we go, Benji seals the deal. It's a flawless round from the players on Mirage to bounce back from the first one and tie us up now at 1-1.
Flawless round there for Mirage, able to get a grasp, a hold on FaZe quite early there. And past that, not really much for FaZe to do. The kills came hot and heavy, and it made it to where Mirage was just a little bit too far ahead for them to do all too much. FaZe simply slinked into the map past that, and were decimated at every corner. So very nicely done from Mirage. It's 1-1 here, but now this is where the rubber hits the road. They've both gotten a really positive round under their belts, so what's got to change?
We'll have to wait and see now, as Mirage is really on the ball in their side of the court at this point. It's all going to be on the FaZe Clan, trying to find that explosive opener that's evaded them, at least on that previous round here, preventing them from kind of taking control over the situation on the attacking side and beginning the process of forcing Mirage back deeper into the site. That'll be step one on the correction course here, and we'll follow it up from there. FaZe are able to accomplish that. Like you said, Mirage really with nothing to lose at this point. They can't even play for the spoiler matchup anymore and force FaZe Clan into that tiebreaker matchup.
Nothing to lose, nothing to gain past knowledge. Knowledge, John. Experience. Experience and sensations up against FaZe clan that they've never felt before, and hopefully it's a positive one. You know, it's never, it's not every day that you get to play up against some legends in your own title, and that's definitely something that they're able to accomplish here. I mean, and past that, quite a few big names in their group. So overall, all in all, I hope they had a good time during their trip.
So we will continue to see the members of FaZe Clan look for that opening opportunity to knock out some of these early roamers from Mirage. There's going to be quite a few of them once again positioned all out and around the map. Twitch drone works its way and deals with an EDD, but is spotted out pretty much immediately afterwards and shot away. So an early death for that drone there as it tries to move in and take out some of the utility. Frost mats will be an issue on entry for FaZe as well, so that to be keeping in mind of that. That explains some of the slowness we're seeing from them as they've officially kind of wasted out the first minute here, playing it heavily into their drone game. Trying to set up now around Geisha, but once again, Kento ready for the fight, but it looks like he actually gets half traded there. Picks up the kill, but ends up going into a down state afterwards. No one on FaZe seems to be aware of that, though, as there's very minimal reaction. We can see Kento crawling away from the situation, so more than likely he'll be brought back up.
He either got ridiculously lucky on the hop-in animation allowing him to move through his res, that happens sometimes, or he got him from the window. Either way, Kento gets picked back up, and FaZe have to deal with the full breadth of this defense. Minute and a half remaining here for FaZe, and it's pretty quiet, and honestly should be. They have 0 hard breach. Souls overplayed his hand, and he gave up the goods. Now FaZe have to try and figure this out through traditional means.
Shots in from Astro here to open up the first potential take point from FaZe. It is going to go directly for the hold in Geisha. Benji more than ready for this potential challenge to come out against him. FaZe will need to more than likely add a second element to this or get some other form of support going. You can see the quick rotate that can even come in on the first floor position here as well. These other members of FaZe trying to go directly towards the site if that is going to be their intention, instead of trying to mess around with the second floor hold on Geisha. Either way, I mean, FaZe really haven't been able to commit to a whole lot here, and we're now 2 minutes deep in the round. When are we finally going to see things come to bear? It looks like now, as the jump in happens for the bottom kitchen window. Much like we expected, the crunch is there. Without proper supporting angles, Mirage are going to roll in and immediately shut this down, leaving it all on the outside holds. Now, Bullet with a bit of a lurk as he works himself to the depths of the kitchen hallways. He's able to take out Mohesi at least, bring the numbers back down to a bit more of a palatable point for FaZe Clan, but still working with a severe lack of map control, and apparently intel as well, trying to figure out exactly where that player upstairs is going to be trying to mess with their own personal take. Shots coming in from cameraman to try and distract that player, but it won't really work out. Bullet now trying to go deeper into the barbecue room itself. He'll lose his teammate in the process, and Bullet as well will be caught out now, losing half of his HP, and Dexter will finish things off as he knocks out that last player halfway down the sushi stairs.
Yeah, FaZe a little misguided in that round, especially after losing souls. They were just throwing things at the wall and hoping that it would stick, you know. Just trying to lurk around, like you were saying, especially around that pantry area. They tried to go for that hard push into kitchen, but it was immediately thwarted by Mohesi. So a little bit of an issue there, but hopefully things will be righted inside of this next round.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
All right, so moving deeper into round number 4 here. We'll take a look and see how Mirage will try to continue taking control of this matchup. So far, it's been a pretty straightforward affair for them so far, aside from the first round, of course. They've been able to take confident control pretty much from the early round and never really lose that establishment. FaZe Clan as well here, struggling to make those initial entries for the reasons we remarked about during the pregame there, with Mirage constantly putting this aggression right in FaZe's face, right at the first window, the first breach they want to try to access here, making it oh so difficult to try to get any workable map control, let alone take that control all the way over towards the site. Still that very same issue here for FaZe Clan. Tried to even force the issue directly into kitchen on the previous round. Ultimately, though, forcing the hand of Mirage and allowing for them to swing in quite easily to shut things down due to the kind of desynced nature of the take from FaZe Clan, having at least 2 other players of the team come in a bit later than the actual push.
Well, Mirage waiting FaZe at the current moment, opening up with the drones here. A lot of claymores for the secondary utilities of FaZe. No explosives at all, stun grenades past that. So See if FaZe can try and slow down Mirage with this setup. They got a lot of, interesting primary utilities here, especially with the Gara hook of Amaru working in. We'll see if Cyber can get some things done with that. These last 2 rounds have really been the Mirage show, so they're looking to try and fix this up. Might hop in right at the bottom of house stairs here. Could be problematic for either end, but it's actually going to back off. There is a player over there on the house stairs, so Mirage could have capitalized on that if he wanted to try and go for that ride, but obviously chose to try and venture a different path. Bullet's going to get partially mute jammed here, but fortunately enough, the drone's still working until he gets into that close radius, and it will obviously turn itself off. FaZe trying to do their best to work this end of the map, about halfway through here, but sadly, the Selma charge is going to get eaten up. Mohesi on top of his game this time around with the Bandit batteries.
See now for FaZe, starting to prep up their initial breach, but it's a little bit of a bait. If you'll pay attention to it, you'll notice that FaZe Clan rotates the large majority of their players away from that breach, only really bringing the drones into it to try to get the intel on who exactly is playing to the inside of that one, drawing a lot more attention instead over towards that Samurai window. That's been pretty well secured with barbed wire and other forms of utility, though, so that'll be a bit of a tough one for FaZe to try and work themselves into without proper clear of the utility, but maybe able to do this. Here we go for Cyber, though, leaping back up on top. He's going to get the drop, but at least one member of the squad. Make it more than that as well. Cameraman able to take out Mohesi. Kento starting to battle back from this fray now, trying to keep things under the control of Mirage, but losing it far too quickly. The all-in strat from FaZe seems to have finally worked where it failed on the previous round and should open up at least a chance for them to get the plant down on the ground, but it's still very, very close to a retake here as it's come to a halt. Now look at this, the walk-in from Kento on the backside immediately slaps out 2 players from the FaZe assault and gives the advantage back over to Mirage, but there is a counter to that as Astro comes in for the very same angle that Kento did and evens back out the number count.
Cameraman lurking in the shadows, in the wings, awaiting melted, and he'll get it. Benji down to a sliver's worth of HP. You breathe on him, well, he's gonna fall on over. They're hounding his location. Astro will get it in FaZe with round 4. We're all tied up here again on Skyscraper. And you put it best, John, FaZe with the all-in strat, it just works out this time.
Absolutely the case. Finding much better intel this time as well. You could see those drones funneling in after they'd made the initial breach with their Selmas, sent those fairly deep into the site despite them getting shot out relatively quickly after the fact, but it got them the intel they needed. More importantly, gave the player on the Amaru the info, or the Aruni rather, the info that they, Amaru, excuse me, very similar names, it always trips me up a little bit, but gave the Amaru player the information that they needed to be able to hop back up through the hatch, as we're going to see here now on replay, and start the execution. That is what allows the rest of FaZe Clan into this site to play out the remaining portion of this round here and shut out any retake attempts that were going to come in from Mirage. Obviously, Kento made it a little bit scary with his counter flank to the play from FaZe Clan, but still, they were able to stabilize it after the fact and keep things under their own control.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll never give you crap about. There's enough names in this game. Maru, Zami, Rooney, like, how about we stop? How about that? Like, I mean, come on, man.
All right, so let's pay attention now to round number 5 here. This is going to decide who has the first chance to at least keep the lead in a potential 4-2 fashion, but they're going to need to bring consistency to the table here, which hasn't really been alive for either team so far in this half now. FaZe and Mirage at a dead heat now at 2-2. Dexter getting a little bit adventurous here by opening up the soft wall leading to the outside. He will actually get the angle, but the timing is so awful. He was primed to try and throw some utility out instead, but Cyber scopes in just when he unscopes, so it's an easy headshot to knock him out.
You gotta love and hate Rainbow Six Siege so much. The timing sometimes is your worst enemy, and Dexter is gonna feel the full breadth of that one there. The timing, getting his goat. And now Dexter going to have to sit on the bench for the remainder of this one. Has no hat in the ring up against FaZe Clan, at least for round 5. Frag grenade out in Cyber's hand now. So tossing that at the door, they'll break that open. Nobody gonna try and attempt this swing. They have the Monty out here. This is something that we were seeing quite often when it came to Black Dragon's setup. They really wanted to try and force the hand of the defense to try and slow things up when it came to this karaoke set. And it actually worked out pretty well for Mirage for a majority of them. But then obviously Direwolves fixing up a couple of things. They ended up bringing in Osa instead of Monty, and it seemed to provide a little bit more value for them. although Basetto wasn't able to get a kill with it. But, you know, it's one of those things where you still have to worry about that lethality coming out of that op, since, you know, it does have that PDW or 5.56 if that's what you so choose. But past that, FaZe, they've been trying to work their angles, get on these repels, and see if they can get another pick onto Mirage. The Selma's in, but I believe it gets eaten up by what my disc out of Melted.
Benji waiting for an opportunity to frag out against the play from FaZe Clan. Mirage have had a pretty good track record so far with defending this portion of the map, more importantly denying any entry. This is awkward.
Oh my god!
Astro with, again, the timing play. This time working out in the favor of Mirage, of course. Mohese just knocking out the legs of the Montaigne the second he slides that shield back into its retracted position. Mohese able to get Cyber down as well here, leaving once again members of FaZe in a little bit of a weaker position. The good news is, though, Bullet has now made up for that kill, taking out Mohese, and leaves only Benji and Melted in play here. FaZe with the 3v2 just needs to work these trades into the site, and they can take a third round.
Well, if you ever wanted to know how to chop down a mountain, just grab an SAS shotgun, and apparently that does the trick. Mirage in the 2v3 now. Have some nice angles. Love this from Melted here. It might be the opportunity he was looking for, but he can't get it done with the AUG, and he knows that there's an approach from the rear. They're going to work their way into Geisha Hallway, though, and this might spell demise for Melted. They saw the barrel. Souls gets the shots. It's up to Benji. He's holding onto the stairwell. He's got time on his side. 4 seconds remain, but he's going to hightail it out of there. He's giving the case up. He's going to try and adjust. It's going to be up to Bullet to try and hold on to this. Benji, he's got a chance, but it's very, very small. Souls is going to get this plant down. It's now a 2 versus 1.
Plant denial won't come through. Benji just trying to fire out randomly here to see if he can get lucky and land a headshot onto one of these players in the post plant coming off of that case, but it leaves them, unfortunately, with a lack of intel when they finally peek back into FaZe's quarters, and as such, Souls will shut things down nice and quick when he's given the opportunity to do so. FaZe take the lead, but only by 1 round at 3-2, heading into the final one of this half.
Really good job from FaZe here. Love the respect given over to Mirage, and you know, really cranking it to 11 when they needed to. Mohese with the big play there on Black Stairs, but then tries to hightail it out of the location. He immediately gets gunned down for it. And the big thing is about that is that the majority of the offenses when working this side of the building, they're centralized around that area. So a little bit of a misguided move there from him probably would have been potentially the saving grace for Mirage if he could have held on to things or just tried to stay alive in a certain sense. So I have to see if Mirage can try and tie things up. 3-3 here, transitioning into round 6.
So as we approach that 6th round, it is going to be another play downstairs where FaZe did try to go for a direct play into Kitchen a few rounds back, but unfortunately were immediately boxed out by Mirage due to a lack of control upstairs and a lack of intel, it seemed, as to what was going on in the kitchen hallways and deeper into Barbecue itself, when they were taken out once again. Seems like the retry, though, might yield better results for FaZe Clan as they try to lock in their lead on the half. If not, Mirage will keep us at that dead time, 3-3, if we are to assume they hold the line once again. And they're going to be in a pretty good position to do so if FaZe try to play their execute the same way. Look at this very trap-heavy lineup here. We've got the welcome mats in again for Kento, and that's alongside the EDDs from Melted as well. Sure to catch a rushing member of FaZe Clan if they try to go for that all-in strat.
Melted. Preemptive Nitro here, love it. That's going to make it to where the tape rip isn't heard. Drone out, and it will definitely see him, so he's going to put that back in his pocket. That's going to make sure that Finka stays alive as well. FaZe measured with their round 6 approach. They want to make sure that Mirage cannot get this one over on them. A bit of an interesting thing there. I think he actually ended up running out of shots inside of his Twitch drone. That's why he didn't get that there and instead pinged it out so everybody knew what door it was on. So, you know, thinking forward when it comes to, you know, the inner workings for his team. Good job on that, Cybers there. Astro's going to actually get the first pick. It's going to be on to Benji. Nitro cell out from our cap can. It lands on Cameraman, but it won't take him out.
Certainly will keep him very, very low HP, though, so Cameraman going to need to play a bit more of a backwards role this time around here. Mohese, though, striking true downstairs here, able to keep the defensive prowess alive by eliminating the first threat to work its way in from FaZe. It was going to be Bullet trying to steal the control away deeper into the actual site while there was a distraction going on upstairs. The plan does not work, unfortunately, so FaZe still starting from square one here as they try to take karaoke control away from Mirage so they can establish top-down angles over the actual site.
And the big thing about this is, just remember, the site is KBBQ Kitchen, and that's something that whenever you do see these defenses, sometimes it's a little, hard to remember because of the amount of utility that is put upstairs. It's a really considerable thing. You really gotta consider what FaZe or any offense can do with taking that top floor. Maybe you just have an all-access key card if your name's CyberZera, and you just walk inside the building, just tap that little dongle right next to the door, just walk on in, I guess. Cyber moved on up. Oh, very well done from Dexter. That timing, gorgeous. He will save his friends inside of Kitchen, and not only that, Melted now has the case.
Melted with the case in hand. Astro with the drop down though, and the lock-in onto Dexter. We'll be able to move out and regroup just with enough health as well. It's a good thing that we do have the Finka in play, as obviously that'll re-bolster that a little bit here, put them into a better situation. Playing out this late round as it's down to only 2 for Mirage. Melted at full HP. Mohesi can only take a single shot of damage, and will more than likely be downed out here. FaZe already working on closing in on his position. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide it seems, but he wraps the corner anyway. Delays things out for a little longer. The prone play though sticks his feet out, giving the shot over to Cameraman, and the kill along with it. Melted still holding on to things on the inside of the site. The Frostbat actually did down the second member of FaZe, so it came down to a 1v1, but it looks like Cameraman still gets the closeout for FaZe as they take control of the final round of the half and lock in a 4-2 lead for themselves, switching over to the other side.
Melted literal pixels away from clutching that round out for Mirage, but the Lion had something to say about that. Also rocking the 417C, if you didn't see that. That gun quite some time ago at this point, actually. I think it was all the way in last year, 2021, where they ended up buffing the DMRs a bit, not only making sure they deal some considerable soft destruction, like you can literally get hatches on roofs now with it, which is pretty cool, but also they gave the 417C some extra bullets. They wanted to give Lion another option as well as Twitch, and everybody was crushing over the F2 and the V308. Both of those guns still very good and deal quite a lot of damage, but that 417C, it really hits, let me tell you. That DMR, even when it had low ammo count, if you got somebody, you were definitely going to take them down. It's a good 2 bullets, and anybody is either downed or severely wounded from that gun. So always a nice choice for your Lion play. If you haven't tried it before, definitely give it a go. But Mirage, they have now switched camps. They're over on the offensive side as FaZe will adopt their first defense. A little bit of a different look here for Mirage. They're going to be bringing the double hard breach. Kento on the sledge as well. We've been seeing him play quite often this year. Oh, that was it for Cyber, but he hesitated. Milliseconds separating him from a frag as he looked away at just the moment.
Cyber finishing the setup of those EDDs, placing them mainly around the Geisha area, just trying to prevent any type of control from Mirage going in that direction. Tripping them up along the way of that clear is more than likely when they take the Geisha control, they'll be starting to get a little bit low on time potentially, and that's where those mistakes with the EDDs will start to surface, and they're not going to be able to have the time to priority clear everything in the area, especially with it being a barbecue hold now for the members of FaZe Clan as they shift over to this defensive side and go back to the very same site they were just playing into. It does not start out that well, unfortunately, though, as Cameraman is caught initially at the start of this round to a member of Mirage.
It's going to be the Frost, though. So the welcome mats will still reside inside of the building along probably some windows and probably one in a pretty fancy place. Bullet's going to put a bullet through Benji. Now we're into a 4 versus 4. The site setups worked out pretty well so far for FaZe. They're doing a very good job of holding the majority of this building, especially the portion of the building that matters most, which is directly above them. You can see all these silhouettes working their way in. Melted almost removing the head of the cap can on CyberZera, but he'll be able to skimper back off into Geisha.
Melted still waiting out behind Drum, hoping for a moment of opportunity to play out against a more aggressive member of FaZe Clan, but not going to find it. The Nitro as well, a little bit off of the position where it would have made impact here against Melted himself. But Melted will back away upon seeing that Nitro cell explode next to him. He knows there's intel about his position, so he's not going to take the chance on being pushed by a second member of this team a few moments from now. He'll reset, group up with the rest of his team that is already making progress downstairs, trying to push past storage into kitchen.
All quiet across the board here. Some shots back and forth between Kento and I do believe Cyber on the receiving end here. We'll see who wins this one out. It's actually going to be Valkyrie. It's going to be Bullet here. I know that MPX sound anywhere, and he'll know those stuns are pouring in as well to make sure that that shield will end up going to the wayside. Very nicely done, making sure that they don't have to burn anything out before delivering what is the first nade here for Kento. Still plenty of stuns in the back pocket as well. Really want to see them start considering these, but oh, this could go for two, and it's actually going to be Cyber that just cleans up Mohesi. No extra damage going to our other top player, which is going to be Melted. He does have the case up here, and they need to find a home for it. Obviously, that's going to be on site, and Kento's assisting with that. He's gotten the counter angle here. He's finally taken down Bullet inside of Pantry, and this has opened things up for Mirage to try and take this round in the last 10 seconds.
Down to those final 10 seconds, however, Kento playing a huge support role and not even realizing the top downs that would have shut these players out. And of course, just like we mentioned, the dying seconds of the round, that's when these types of mistakes are made. The EED, or EDD, sealing the deal against the last member of the Mirage, trying to push in there. Gives the round over to FaZe, leaving them in a near victorious position now with just a few rounds to go. Two, in fact, needing to be picked up here.
You really hit the two things about Siege casting that annoy me the most. EE1D, EDD, and Maru Zami. What was the other one? This is our fun fact. A Rooney, there it is. Hey, very nice, man. Good job. Yeah, but always a little one to trip up over. Ha, EDDs, get it? Yeah, I know. I'm not funny. It's okay. 5-2 in favor of FaZe, putting the defenses together, and it was looking a little risky there at the dying moments. Not before we saw what was going on the top floor, though, right?
Certainly the case. Mirage coming very, very close to taking the full control for themselves, but a lack of proper overwatch on their planter throws it by the wayside, where FaZe Clan are able to bring things back due to that top-down angle they've been establishing for some time. And of course, the angle having a perfect sightline onto the planter kills that one, and then it's just a snowball effect from that point forward. FaZe looking to lock in their penultimate round right here. Interesting reselection there coming in from Benji specifically, as we are going to get gridlock, an operator that shows up very, very rarely here in competitive R6.
Yeah, and we usually all cross our arms and judge heavily, so make sure you're doing that along with us when it comes to this gridlock play. She's gotten her time, I'd say, you know, throughout the years, and it's always kind of niche. We used to see her a lot on Cafe. Everyone kind of fell in love with her F90 for a little while there. You know, it's just a really solid gun. Barely had any recoil. A guy in North America named Prod that used to be on Xset, the bad roster, used to play with that a lot and was known for it. But past that, Mirage bringing everything in the kitchen sink when it comes to info game. Lion, Dokkaebi, Thatcher, oh my, to open things up for them. Make things a little bit easier when it comes to trying to get some of the harder to reach things away from FaZe. Away from that, though, it looks like Mirage wants to enter really quick. I assume that with the logic bombs as well as the EE1Ds working their way in, but it looks like FaZe was ready for that one as well. A nice little flick there from Benji. And remember when I said no recoil? Yeah, I really, really did mean it. Benji able to decapitate his opponents, and that's at least going to keep us even for now.
Brings everything to a halt, but gets quite loud yet again just a few seconds later. Mohesi ready for the next challenge. Takes down a roaming cameraman out in the open just outside of Sushi, knocking him down. And once again, giving the player advantage over to our attackers now, as they try to continue to maintain control and push further into FaZe's defensive setups. Looks like they're going to go directly towards it here, as you had been mentioning earlier. Motion detector is going to be present past the doorway, so that'll cause a little bit of delay for Benji. On top of the fact as well that Benji doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of direct support here. If he goes down through a series of unfortunate events, then he's very much going to be on his own. Some teammates are in the area, however, so they can begin to rotate into it now that he's moved forward and taken at least the initial bit of site control.
It's been a while since I've worked these angles upstairs, so I don't know if Bullet has the closure here. I don't think that they have a place to put this plant down. It looks like he has all of the angles on the wall. He does. So there's really no place unless Benji slips past him anyway. Oh, no, that's bad too. Oh my. Such an unfortunate circumstance there for Benji. Misguided offense here from Mirage. They don't account for the angles that have been destroyed up top for FaZe. They did such a good job up to that point, didn't they, John? They cleared out a majority of things and really gave themselves a chance, but the angles from FaZe, they're just too strong.
As has oftentimes been the story here so far throughout this game, it just seems like Mirage missing a few key details that stop them from being an ultimate success inside of their play. And this time it's those top-down angles that really they didn't have a plan to deal with it ultimately due to a lack of time. You're seeing it here and now, only really having about 40 seconds or so to be able to try and counter that back out once they realized it was a problem. So just tried to force the issue, led to their planter going down. Melted though, not out of the fight just yet here, brings it to the 1v1, but ultimately still ends up falling into FaZe's favor. One more round is all they need to lock out this game.
Well, color me surprised that Bullet peaked that. I thought as soon as that 1v1 initially went down and FaZe ended up losing it, that Bullet was immediately going to go into passive mode, but not the case. Able to take the gunfight and take the win. We're going to have a Mirage timeout. They'll burn theirs, even though this match really doesn't mean too much to them anymore. Just want to talk things out and see if they can potentially get a couple more rounds here and just keep FaZe in it. Get some more international LAN experience under their belt. We'll be back into the game here in about 30 seconds, folks, but so far so good for FaZe Clan. And, you know, to be expected. This was the expected results, but I will say that last round, pretty creative for Mirage. I like what they did across the board there. FaZe just with the direct counter to where they wanted to plant, and that's really where things got derailed.
That's the big problem right now, are these counters that are seemingly constantly being picked up by these players here. And now as they try to move themselves back into it, we're going to see that pause timer come to a close. And of course, Mirage now being forced back into the game for what could very well be their final round of play here at this event. It's been fun to see them make it here for the first time, but unfortunately just not able to put the right effort forward here in the group stage. Only seeing victories come out for the first time here today versus the Direwolves. And aside from that, only gaining points via an overtime loss, if memory serves me correctly, on day 1 versus M&M. So I'm going to be trying to close things down here. Lock out the rest of this group, rather Wolves, I think is where we saw that overtime loss end up going on. But either way, Mirage going to be trying to pick up as good of a result as possible here, so they have the experience in their pocket to head back to NA with and be able to adapt their play style as they look to get ready for the next year of play coming up in a few months.
And it's set to blow.
Wow, I would not be wanting to be the one going in that room right there. That looks a lot more like a trap if I've ever seen one. Quite a few of those death blossoms are. Oh, I can't. Gosh dang it. Razor bloom. Thank you. Yes, the razor blooms going down there from Thorn inside of Karaoke. Cyber is actually going to be the first one to strike very early here. And it's one of the nasty ones. They finally were able to work it. I don't know if it was on the rappel. I don't see his body down there.
No, it's down there.
Is it? Oh, I see the little orange tag. Yeah,
I don't think the observer can actually go down that low. So.
Yeah, well, I think it's also because the bodies are off as well for him. So looks like either way, Mirage are going to end up worse for wear because of it, and especially because Dexter's the one with the logic bombs, and also Melted's dead. So there's that too.
Seems like it's coming to a pretty straightforward conclusion when everything is said and done, but Benji, Kento, and Mohesi still with a chance to try and make up for the deficit that's been thrown against them here. Melted and Dexter knocked out immediately at the start of the round. FaZe Clan barely having to lift a finger to do so. And Mirage now just going to go for the all-in assault. The swing from Karaoke, the nitro in, but that's not even what seals the deal on the kill. Astro able to pick it up instead with his secondary. Mirage now down to 2 as Kento completes his wrap up the back stairs to try and pinch things in here. Looked like he had a headshot, but apparently not. Bullet gets to it first and is able to knock out Kento. And yeah, Benji just scoping in here now as he doesn't really have a whole lot to do. Minute and a half left to play out here. It's pretty much assured at this point for FaZe Clan to lock not only this game in, but their spot in the playoffs as well, as they will be moving forward, still with an opportunity to reclaim their title here in Sweden from last year.
Benji just gonna have fun with it for the rest of this round, and I mean, why wouldn't you, man? He's even got a smile on his face. Look at him. That's awesome. I'm very happy for these guys. They got their win at international events, and well, won't come against FaZe, but it will come against Direwolves. So they've gotten one under.
So I was like, come on, let's do it. Let's
hey, let's dance.
I've had enough of this.
We got a minute left. I'm trying to go get dinner already. Well, Benji, let's see if you can hit your shots. Everybody approaching you from every single angle, but Cyber wins it with the pre-fire from downrange. Disgusting stuff. FaZe up Brazil. You have made it to the playoffs.
FaZe with another very straightforward victory here to close out their group. As we said before, they are now locked into second place. They will indeed be moving forward here. And that also means, unfortunately, regardless of the result from the Direwolves game, they as well are going to be headed home. This group is locked in, and we continue to get a clearer and clearer picture of what our playoffs in 2 days are going to look like. Mirage as well, what we said before, a good effort coming in for them over these past few days, but the inexperience on international soil certainly showing to